The business intelligence aspect of BDE is brought to life through the dynamic visualization framework, which allows users to pose complex questions of the data and get immediate answers. Anything in the system that can be measured numerically can be graphed against textual attributes by simply clicking on the measure an attribute. So in essence, you can express a question with 2 clicks, and BDE will provide you with an answer on the 3rd click. As an example, what you're looking at is a business intelligence data source, whose raw format is a massive CSV file. It's important to note here that the dynamic visualization framework can display answers to questions from an array of data source types, not just Excel or CSV, an important differentiator between our competitors. So let's pose some questions of the data here real quick. So the first thing I'm going to do is, of course, click on a measure and an attribute. So as an expression of a question, I'll click on the number of new wells and I'll select an attribute of well orientation. It can be either directional, horizontal, or vertical. So I click on those 2 things. You can see in the top area of the canvas, they display now. I'll ask that question by hitting Create Graph button, and now you can see the answer displays the number of new wells by well orientation. There's 2,367 horizontal, 1,132 vertical, 491 directional. We can also view this information both by geospatial attributes and temporal attributes. So I want to view this information by the permit approval date, which is the temporal attribute we have in the data. So I simply click on permit approval date. You see that appears in the attributes section of the canvas, and I'll create the graph, and immediately you can see the most data I have is for 2014. I'll click on 2014 and I can see the distribution of the number of new wells by permit approval date, and it gives me a little bit more information than just, say, looking at the number of new wells by orientation by adding a temporal component into it. Now I can see the trends over time. It looks like August through November or September through November are the months that have the most activity associated with number of new wells. So let's just express a couple more questions by clicking on measures and attributes. So I want to look at the number of wells that are in prep. So something that would be important to me as a business development individual inside an energy company. And I want to look at that possibly by geospatial attribute. Let's get rid of these here. I want to look at the number of wells in preparation by state. I'll create that graph, and immediately I can get the answer. There are 169 wells in prep in Texas, and of course 32 Kansas, 45 in Arkansas. There's a big drop off between Texas and the other states.